I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fiend. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fiend. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all because of it I flipped it quick, went on to write some hits. This a success, off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do, to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school. Depends on where your passion lie, just know passion never lie. Life presents distractions, but your actions have to fortify the things that you believe in. Have to scream it like a battle cry, and leave the ones who didn't looking stupid while they're asking why. Couldn't lie, I really do this for the ones I love, those who treat the music as a vice and lyrics like a drug, those who need advice on how to lift their spirit high enough to break out of the box they make up lives they know aren't good enough. Just because it's how it is don't mean it's how it has to be. This is what the uninspired testifiers fail to see. Jealousy results from being that which others fail to be, and if it means you're not with me, that honestly sounds fair to me.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fiend. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Do this for my mother, she'll be working for the summer. Do this for my father, cause these days I often wonder what my life would have been like if I was not adopted, to grow up in a home where I was treated like a problem. I don't know, it's just a guess. Your guess probably good as mine. Lucky that I grew up in a home that wanted me to shine. Lucky that I grew up around some mountains we were taught to climb. Without that inspiration, I don't think that this would be my life. Do this for my friends who've scattered all across the country now. I'm out in Sweden walking back through life so I can write it down. Make a living off the sound, so crazy to say out loud. I'm the biggest thing since Travis Rice to come up out the town. Sorry, gotta stunt a little. Used to have my dreams belittled, but it's all a part of it. I know people's minds are fickle, lines between reality and dreams I blur like faded nights. Come up been so good for me, I wish that I could make it twice.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fiend. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Hey, you guys, shout out to everybody for being here tonight. Thank you guys for being here. I know it's been a long time coming. You guys haven't seen me in a while. Shout out to everybody who's been waiting for this episode. We are on episode 3 of Defensive Backs in the Transfer Portal. If you guys don't know how it works, typically I talk about the transfer portal, but I do it in position groups. And I do this so I touch on every single team, so every single fan can watch the show. And so I don't miss any players. This is how I teach myself the transfer portal. When I tell you I know every player in the transfer portal, it's not a game. It's not a joke. I don't Google these guys after the fact. Like, people always think, hey, man, during the season, when a player does a really good job in a game, Rico goes and Googles him and then pretends to know him. Watch the live streams from the off season, and I'll talk about your favorite player, and I'll talk about these guys and make predictions on how they're going to do and how they're going to perform. I've talked about everybody. So every single position group, I've covered at least, if we're on episode 3, I've covered at least 75 players in every single position group. I try to do at least 25 In some position groups, I did like 40 or 50, if I remember correctly, on some of the earlier episodes. But now I'm trying to regulate myself. We're going to string this out throughout the entire offseason, and 25 seems about right per episode. Some position groups will get more episodes. I might just sit down and just shoot the shit with you guys once we cover everybody in the portal, but I doubt we'll cover everyone. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I only talk about players who are committed to teams. So there's going to be some players that die in the portal. I'll never talk about them because their careers are over. And once the spring portal hits, there's going to be a ton of names to add to these lists, and we're going to have to scramble and figure it out. Now, it's a lot to manage. So I have a chart in front of me with everyone's names on it, and it just lets me know, did I talk about this individual in episode 1, 2, or 3 in this case? So you'll hear me say something like, oh, I already talked about that player. If you want to know about a player that I'm skipping over, go and find the earlier episodes. It's under the live tabs. Excuse me, I don't mean to touch my nose in the middle of a show. But it's under the live tab and not the video tab on YouTube. And I'm going to show you guys what that looks like before the end of the show. But if you go to the YouTube homepage, there's different sections. One of them says videos, one says playlist, and another one says live. Click on the live tab. You're going to find a ton of content that nobody's ever seen. Hours upon hours of content that I've created that has all the receipts, man. This is where I go when I do my I Am Right videos. I jump straight to these episodes. I have everything kind of annotated and noted. I know when and where I've talked about a player. It's just a part of my process and what I do. I'm highly organized. And speaking of highly organized, Saturday is a day I spend only talking about the UFC. So for those of you who don't know, I do pick fights for the UFC. This weekend is UFC 299. I want to help you guys out. I'm trying to help everybody watch these fights. UFC, if you didn't know, there are fight cards every single weekend. There really are. Every Saturday, fight cards. But there are two different types of fight cards. There are Fight Night, and then there's UFC with a number on it. So UFC Fight Night also has a number, but it's UFC Fight Night. It's typically the lower end fights. Think of Group of 5 football, okay? UFC 299, think of that as the playoffs. Think of that as FBS Conference Championship football. It is the best of the best fighting. We have a full card going. And if you're an MVP, I don't know how loud I got to be about this without getting in trouble, but if you're an MVP on Patreon and you connect your Patreon to the Discord server, you can watch the fights with me. That's how I'm going to put it. I'm just going to say that. You can watch the fights with my commentary. You ain't got to do a thing but be an MVP, and you can watch the fights with my commentary. Shout out to all the MVPs. We get a packed house. First 150 that show up get to watch the fights with me, listen to me provide commentary. I am a trained fighter. I've been fighting and training martial arts for over 20 years, and this is what I do. I was an all-Army fighter in the Army. Shout out to them. I was a level 4 combatives instructor. I've been a martial arts instructor in real life. I sit there and I explain to you what these guys are doing because I've been there. My assessment and my predictions are extremely accurate. And let me tell you how well I know the UFC. And then people who look at me and go, Rico, you're a college football guy. How well do I know the UFC? Well, let me show you. I'm going to pull up the chart here. Let me show you guys something. I don't always have my scene set up. I apologize. But this is the card from last week. And we missed a lot of different parlays and props. Those are my parlays and props. They don't have to be yours. You can do whatever you want. Don't blind tail a thing. But do you see this part up here? This entire top section? That's because I went 11-0 on predictions on the fights. I picked a minus 900 to lose. An undefeated fighter to lose. I picked the underdog in the main event to win. I picked an underdog in the first fight of the night to win. I picked every single winner. And if you take my videos and you take my predictions and you create your own parlays, you create your own predictions, your own, 3 or 4 parlays, just pick 3 or 4 fights, put them together. Oh, Rico, it's not that hard. I could have guessed that 1,300 was going to win. Yeah, but if you go in parlay, this minus 290, this minus 310, and this plus 152, you would have made a ton of money. We had one MVP parlay all the picks. He put $10 on it. The payout was $2,100. You can change your life. You can change your month. You can change your day, your week. You can do whatever you want, or you can continue to lose money on your own. I want you to pay attention to something down here. Every single card, we're above 500. We're 24-7 on locks. We're 22-7 on leans. And yes, value bets, we're an even 500. Value bets are when I'm picking an underdog to win the fight. I get it right half the time. And just so you're aware, now, for those of you who talk units, I don't talk units because I'm not a gambler. I don't tell you what to bet on these fights. That's on you. You can be up a crazy amount of units, or you can be down a certain number of units. We're not betting on every single fight. I provide a prediction on every fight. You don't have to bet on every single one. You can be up a whole different number from everybody else. So when people say, well, I'm up 7, 8 units, Rico, what are you up? I have no clue, bro. I don't bet. But I can tell you this right here. On this alone, this value bets, because it's even, and we know that every single one of these is plus money. Every value bet, that's 22 different fights of plus money. You'd be ahead. You'd be ahead. Even when even, you'd be ahead. Because every single one of these is picking an underdog. And we're 50% when picking an underdog. This was a 520. You can't see it behind my face. But we picked a 520 and hit. So if you put 1 unit here, you just won 5 units. You put a unit here, 1.3, 1.5. So in those 3 value bets on this card alone, you should be up 6 units. On 3 fight, betting 3 units, you'd be up 6. Simple math, quick math. Call it what you want. I'm just letting you know, not only are we getting the predictions right, all you got to do is go to Patreon, become an MVP. You can stay on YouTube and become an MVP. I don't always post this chart on YouTube. It doesn't let me. It does weird things. It's always posted on Patreon. Go be a Patreon MVP. The price is the same, $25 a month, and you'll change your life. I just wanted to make that service announcement while we're here. UFC 299, we're excited about it. It's the next one coming up, and you guys see the chart here. I can tell you right now, I already have Macy Barber locked in, and I'm giving it away for free. Macy Barber's a lock, minus 195. Get ready to parlay that with whatever the hell you want. You can go down here and pick a minus 500. You can pick a 385 and put those 3 together, and I bet you get plus money. You get plus money right there, and just double your unit for the night and enjoy the pay-per-view card. Come to the Discord server. We got it for you. That's all I'm saying. All right, so let's talk about this stuff. Let's talk about football, though. It's college football season. Everybody's here. They want to see the transfer portal. They want to talk to me. Hey, Rico, transfer portal, is anybody still in it? Who's the moves? Well, a lot of the moves already occurred. I'm just getting around to finally talking about them. I had to take a long break before I could do another defensive back episode, and it's not your guys' fault. I had to install new monitors, and I had to take down some stuff on my computer, change out my RAM. I did an upgrade on a lot of my hardware, and in the process, man, I lost some of my database. I didn't have the right backup. Some of my rated hard drives didn't go together properly. The redundancy wasn't there, and I'm really pissed about it. I had to work and recreate the database. There's no shortcuts. Recreate it from scratch. And that's a lot of work. I type really fast. It's still a lot of work. So now we're ready to talk defensive backs. We're going to hit it. You might hear me talk about guys that transferred a long time ago. You might hear me talk about guys that, you thought I already talked about, but I don't have any record of it on video. So therefore, we're going to get it on video. I have to get everything on wax, bruh. I have to get everything in 4K. So let's go. First guy we're going to talk about, if you didn't know, I'm going to do it a little different tonight. I'm going to look at defensive backs. Before I do get into them, if you have questions and you want to talk with me and interact with me, all you got to do is go to YouTube. All you guys on TikTok, go to YouTube and search. Go to YouTube and search RicoKnows. Get to the damn live stream. It's there, and you can throw in all your questions you want. So first and foremost, though, the guy we're going to talk about is Jabbar Muhammad. Jabbar Muhammad, you see it here, increased from 3 stars to 4 stars. And he's going from Washington to Oregon. The thing that kind of bothers me about it is Jabbar Muhammad is the same corner that transferred from Washington State to Washington last year. I'm sorry, from Oklahoma State to Washington last year. And you didn't raise him a star then. You left him at 3 stars last year. That kind of bugs me. This is a kid coming out of DeSoto High School in Texas. If you guys don't know, I don't know if you guys know. Did you guys know how great Jabbar Muhammad's family is? Does anybody know? He says he's got 60 first cousins. Newsflash, so do I. 60 first cousins. I got 80. I'm telling you. It's crazy. So he's got a brother that played, an older brother, used to play at North Texas. He's got another older brother that played at another Texas school. Played in Nevada. But he's got a first cousin he played against in the playoffs. When they played Texas, he had a first cousin. They were playing, he plays for Texas, edge rusher. So when you got cousins on the other side of the ball, it's like, yo, I'm playing against my cousin. He's got a cousin in the NFL. He's got players everywhere. Shout out to Billy Walton. I just think it's incredible how good this family is at football. All these guys have been playing football for a long time. It's really good stuff. Now, how well did he play at Washington? I thought he played well. Everybody talks about, well, he's second team, all Big 12, or, you know, it's Big 10 or whatever, or Pac-12. Yeah, man, I thought he played well. What I want to tell you guys is when I assess players, I think about their NFL prospects. Jabbar Muhammad reminds me a lot of every good 5'10 corner. Because that's why he wasn't recruited highly out of high school. That's why he only had 3 stars. You're winning state at DeSoto. You're great, but you're 5'10. And 5'10", 180 doesn't quite measure up to some of these other wide receivers. I think he plays great. I apologize. My dog is amped. Sweetie, it's me. There's somebody at the front door? Excuse me. I got a pit bull and she's pissed. I'm so sorry, guys. Sorry about that. I apologize. You know, I'm just a normal person with a normal life, and I got a really upset baby girl. Her mom's not here. She's upset. Come on, Ash. Nonetheless, so what I want to talk about Jabbar Muhammad that's most intriguing to me about this transfer is when he left Washington, he went on a trip to Alabama. And he didn't follow the coaching staff. A lot of it has to do, he didn't feel loyalty to the coaching staff. He'd only known them 1 year. He's a free agent. So he doesn't go to Alabama that needs defensive backs. Alabama just lost 8 defensive backs this offseason, and he doesn't care. He doesn't go. That's pretty incredible to me that he just gave up on it and he went to Oregon. Now, Oregon is restocking on defensive backs, and they signed a ton in the transfer portal. So, yes, Jabbar Muhammad's supposed to be the starter. I'm telling you, he's supposed to be the starter. But when you're replacing a 6'3 corner with a 5'10 guy, it's going to be noticeable. And I don't necessarily know if he's that guy. And I know a lot of people like Jabbar Muhammad. I know they do. I'm a fan. There's limitations when it comes to your size. That's all I'll say. That's what she said. Next guy I'm going to talk about, just so you know, if I'm skipping guys, first episode, everybody here, first episode. Then we're at Trey Amos. Trey Amos I don't understand why teams keep signing Trey Amos. They just gave him a 4th star, which is complete and utter horseshit. Trey Amos can't play football. I'm not saying he can't play. He's just not an SEC caliber player. And they keep doing this. He's leaving Alabama, going to Ole Miss. Guys, he's not an Alabama corner. Coming out of high school, he played for the Raging Cajun. And when he was at Louisiana, he wasn't good. He wasn't great. He wasn't anything to write home about. He was a late signing to Alabama, late in the portal process last spring. And he goes to Alabama. What did he do? What did he do to earn a start while at Alabama? He was the nickel corner and did nothing. Excuse me, nothing. And I was trying to see. I'm tripping, right? I'm like, yo, what's going on? I hate to hit pause on this show and step away for a second. I hate to do it, but I'll be right back. Sorry about that, y'all. I just had to go check and make sure nobody was breaking into the cars or anything. She won't stop acting up. So what I wanted to tell you guys about Trey Amos is I went to go watch his tape. And I wanted to make sure I'm right about this because last offseason I was not encouraged by his transfer to Alabama. He's at Alabama. He does nothing worth noting that I saw. So I went back and watched the tape. And you know what I want to say about this? He has one interception in his whole college career. One. And it was in a 70-20 blowout when he was at Louisiana and they were playing an 0-9 ULM team. 0-9 ULM team. And it was against the backup quarterback who later turned into a tight end and has only attempted 3 passes in his whole life. I don't understand. Shout out to Garrett Kamen is his name. This kid right here is not SEC caliber. I promise you, if he's starting for Ole Miss, something's wrong. This guy should not be in a rotation anywhere, and they're going to find out when they get to practice. And they actually see him, and they go, well, this guy's not good enough. This guy's not real. He had 12 tackles last year for Alabama. You go from 36 to 12. I don't understand it. I thought he was transferring because he can't start. He's leaving. They just lost 8 defensive backs. He's one of them. He's leaving to Ole Miss. I think it's a money grab, and I think Ole Miss overpaid for this kid. I don't think he's any good. I've watched enough tape to know, guys. You guys know me. I'll call it like I see it. I don't think he's any good. Don't like it. If you want to talk about not any good and don't like it, let's go talk about Denver Harris. By the way, Preston Hodge was covered in episode 1. Denver Harris going from LSU to UTSA. Congratulations to Denver Harris for finding another coaching staff to believe in you. If you're a 5-star athlete, people are going to continue to believe in you. This is a kid coming out of North Shore, won 3 state titles in 4 years, looked the part, was 5-star, this, that. As soon as he got to A&M, they realized this guy is a 5-star douche, 5-star problem. And they didn't care for him. So getting suspended multiple times while at A&M, eventually suspended indefinitely, kicked off the team, goes to LSU. I don't know, man. I mean, if you saw LSU, did he even play at LSU? Anybody know? I know. I just want to say that he had 21 tackles, but I don't know if he played at LSU because I checked the team photo. He's not in it. This man is not in the team photo at LSU last year because he was starting fights on the field. I just don't see anything positive about bringing Denver Harris onto your team. I just don't get it. I don't. You see Yam Banks right below him? Yam Banks reached out to me to defend some of his teammates in a DM on Twitter. And shout out to Yam Banks for defending some guys he just met. He's from South Alabama. Defending some guys he just met. But more shout out to him because he's actually a really good football player. Denver Harris, I'm not excited about his move. Now, UTSA might be excited about it. I just think there's red flags everywhere. If you ask me, there's red flags everywhere. I wouldn't be interested in Denver Harris in the slightest. It's not my bag, bro. Not my thing. Price Shock. Hey, somebody tell me how I'm supposed to say the first name. I know it's a Bible name, right? I know it's a book in the Bible. I'm not a big religious person. I'm not a Bible guy. I don't want to say his name wrong. But somebody's going to have to phonetically write it out and tell me. But I just call him Price Shock. Price Shock. Leaving Arizona, going to Washington. This is a good player. Pops on tape. 6'4", 190. A little skinny, but he pops on tape. Looks great. Right off rip, 64 tackles last year. 7 passes deflected. I'm going to say something to you guys that that's going to come across the wrong way, but he looks like he would never do anything wrong. Like, he looks like a good kid, bro. He looks the part, man. His interviews come off great. Everything about him. He was supposed to go to USC, decommitted, and he ended up going to obviously to Arizona, and now he's going up to Washington. But I like the kid, man. I think it's a good get for Washington after losing Jabbar Muhammad. You needed to find a corner, right? And you got a guy, like I said, you lose a 5'10" corner, and you get a guy that's very, very good at matching up size on size. He's got good size. Pause. I like Price Talk a lot. Congratulations to Washington for getting a stud. And then the next guy I want to talk about, all these guys have been covered in previous episodes. Everybody. The only person here that's a fraud is Jordan Shaw. They raised him. You see this T in 8.9? They raised him since I last talked about him. And they raised him all because he went from Arizona to Washington. This was a role player at Indiana, not very good. He went to Arizona because he's friends with the recruiting coordinator, or at least they know him. They have a relationship, and they recruited him. Brought him into Arizona. I thought he was going to be I actually rated in my bottom 10 transfers. And then once the coaching staff all up and left Arizona, went to Washington, they took this kid with them, and it was a bad move. Like, I don't think he can play at Washington. I don't think he's a good player. I don't think he's that guy. I feel the same way about Jake Pope, just so we're clear. But this Jordan Shaw increase in rating because he's going to Washington is just despicable by 24/7 Sports. The way they raise people's ratings based upon what school they're going to is embarrassing to me. It really is. And then let's talk about Rod Hurd the second here. This will be the last guy I talk about on the committed list. Rod Hurd the second, going to Notre Dame. This is the top defensive back at Northwestern last year. If you don't remember, Northwestern was a terrible team 2 years ago. They were supposed to be bad last year, and they weren't. And I caught on real quick. I started watching tape. My prediction started going Northwestern for the win. Hey, MVPs, we're betting on Northwestern this week. And everybody's like, I don't know, Rico. I don't know if we should. Yes, we should. They're going to beat Utah in the bowl game. I believed in Northwestern like you wouldn't believe, and it paid off. And a lot of it had to do with their secondary. 2 guys have since transferred to West Virginia. They're not going to make it in this episode. And then, obviously, Hurd here going to Notre Dame. Hurd is a stud. Honorable mention Big Ten. I don't care. I think he can play football, man. I think he can play football. Has almost 200 tackles in his career. I think it was 85 tackles last year. Notre Dame found themselves a player. No more going and getting some kid from Rhode Island. No, get somebody who can play at this echelon at this level and loves to tackle. I like Rod Hurd. He is only 5'11", 190. Excuse me. I'm going to go to the chat in a few. I only covered 5 guys. I apologize. Give me a second here. I have to connect the chat, and my keyboard isn't reading. It's weird. I have a new wireless keyboard while I do these shows. It's unfortunate that there it is. Give me a second. Okay. Sorry about that. So I will be going to chat here in a little bit. I just got to switch this up and go look up enrolled. Sorry. And then we'll only be talking about guys that are enrolled. All that means is they're already in class, so they won't be transferring until after spring football. Some of them. But let's go look. And they're in order. I'm probably going to talk about 5 of them, and then we'll run to the chat, okay? So 5 of them run to the chat. On this side, pardon me, got to check my chart. Did I talk about Caleb Downs already? Sorry, y'all. I'm playing with fire right now. Caleb Downs, what up, bro? All right. Did not talk about Caleb Downs in previous shows. So first thing I want to say about Caleb Downs is I had a chance to watch him play in high school a lot. I'm from Georgia. I've lived here about 10 years now. And he played at Mill Creek. Great high school team. Yes, they lost to Buford in the regular season, came back to win the state title after Buford lost to Walton. And Caleb Downs had a huge part to do with them winning the state title. But there were other good players on that team. Shout out to Cam Robinson, the running back. Shout out to Jamal Anderson Jr., Dirty Bird. Yeah, Jamal Anderson Jr., but he's 6'4" something. He's at Clemson. He's a linebacker. They had a loaded team. They had a good team. I liked a lot of their players. But Caleb Downs was always physically developed, a man amongst boys, and it enabled him to go to Alabama and immediately contribute. It enabled him to immediately start playing. I think a lot of this has to be the credit has to go to their father, right? The Downs brothers, I say the Downs brothers. There's 3 Downs brothers, in case you didn't know. And their father is Gary Downs. Gary Downs, I used to have his card. He was a 3rd-round draft pick for the Broncos, I believe. Don't quote me. Giants, Broncos, Falcons. One of those. He played for them. 3rd-round draft pick, and he went to NC State, I believe. So he was a running back in the NFL, and then he has all these amazing kids. And he's a coach now. I think he's a Notre Dame running backs coach. Before that, he was at East Tennessee as a running backs coach, associate head coach, whatever it is. But you've got Josh Downs, one of the greatest slot receivers in North Carolina history, had over 100 receptions in a year, was a second-round draft pick last year. I remember, he was on my list. He was like my third best wide receiver in the draft. And their uncle's Dre Bly, bro. Their uncle's Dre Bly. Like, that's a loaded family of greatness. And Caleb Downs might be better than all of them. He's such a good player. So leaving Alabama, he can go anywhere, and he goes to Ohio State. I believe Ohio State is slated to be a national championship favorite next year. I like everything they're doing. And I think the development of Caleb Downs continues. This young man, as long as he continues to lift weights, stay healthy, not get injured, he'll be great. So congratulations to Ohio State. You got him for a year. You don't know if he's going to transfer again. Everybody's a one-year rental as far as I'm concerned. Everybody else I've talked about in previous episodes, go watch them. And then we got Keon Sabb here. He's brand new. Keon Sabb transferring from Michigan to go replace Caleb Downs at Alabama. One thing I'll say about Keon Sabb is, if you didn't know, he's bigger than Caleb Downs. A lot of people don't know that. He's bigger than Caleb Downs. 3 years of eligibility left. 6'1", 208. Just a little bigger. And he was in that role where he played some, but he wasn't the impact player, like the household name like some of these other guys. He wasn't a starter. But knowing that Alabama just lost 8 defensive backs and all their starters, right? Taron Arnold, I think they have one guy left. Who's the one guy still there? Malachi Moore. But Taron Arnold, Kool-Aid, obviously Downs. People keep asking to co-host with me. Please leave me alone. It's pretty cool to see Keon Sabb come in and get a chance to start. He played in the national title game against Washington. They know him well. The Washington coaching staff obviously moved over to Alabama. And he made 6 tackles in that national title game. I thought he was all over the place. I thought he looked good. I'm excited for this move. He's got 3 years to develop into something great, but he's got NFL size right now. He just needs to put it all together and get on the field and play. So let's see it. Jameer Grimsley leaving Alabama, going to Florida. This is a young kid. He's 6'3", 185. He needs to lift weights. But this is a young man who was at Alabama for 1 week. He was at Alabama for 1 week. Just like Julian Sain, he was in this year's recruiting class. Got there. Coach Saban retires, blindsides all the kids. And they're like, what the I just signed up to play where? With who? I'm out this joint. So he takes off to Florida. Shout out to Florida. Florida signed a couple of defensive backs now that are both 6'3". It's him and Jaden Hill. Jaden Hill's coming up down here somewhere. Oh, no, Jaden Hill left. Where did Jaden Hill go? From Florida. He left to A&M. Who am I thinking of? Oh, there it is. No, DJ Douglas. They've signed like 5 guys. Bridges. Florida's just revamping their whole secondary. And a lot of it has to do with just promising these kids, you got a shot to come start over here. He was actually, Grimsley, a month earlier, was choosing between Florida and Alabama. So when he chose Alabama, and once they lose the GOAT, it's pretty simple. Well, let me go to Florida then. So he hits the portal. There's no penalty for this. He doesn't have to sit out a year or anything like that. I want to tell you, Jameer Grimsley's huddle tape, I watched it today. He looks like such a fluid athlete. He really does. I was surprised to see his 100-meter time was 10.8. I thought he was even faster than that. And I know 10.8's fast. I know 10.8's fast. I watch a lot of huddle film. I watched Grimsley's film today, and I'm like, yo, this guy's fast. He looks good. 6'3", the right size. I don't know if he's going to be at Florida long, only because how long is that coaching staff going to be given a chance to continue to coach? I don't know. Okay. I'll do one more, then we'll go to the chat. Let's go to Jaden Hill since I already talked about him. He's the next guy in line. All these guys have been covered in previous episodes, just so we're clear. Jaden Hill leaving Florida, going to A&M. It's pretty cool stuff. This is a kid from Huntsville, Alabama. And you go to Florida back in 2019, and you've been there the whole time. But when he went on his trip to A&M, I knew they were gonna go, because there was 3 guys, Scooby Williams and one more guy. They all went on trips. The third name that escapes me right now, he went to Louisville. The other 2, Scooby and Jaden Hill, ended up at A&M. Congratulations, they're here. But it's all because A&M has 3 former Florida coaches on the defensive staff now. Jay Bateman, Sean Spencer, and McGriff, right? So Wesley McGriff, who used to coach at Florida in the secondary. This is a relationship-driven transfer. Now, back in 2021, Jaden Hill tore his ACL. Then you go to 2022, he's still injured, and this is Billy Napier's first year. So you got a new coaching staff, and you don't quite come off of the ACL right. You miss about 4 or 5 games because of it. You're never going to get in favor with the new coaching staff like that. This year, though, he moves over to the star nickel corner position because they're running 5 defensive backs, and he plays pretty damn good. I thought he played well. 39 tackles, 3 pass breakups. He was all over the field. Turn on the tape. Jaden Hill plays well in the box. He's good against the run. He helps in the flats. I like everything about him. Okay, I really do. But the minute they got rid of Corey Raymond in the secondary at Florida, they got rid of Corey Raymond. They said, we're going to hire Will Harris. Will Harris comes in, and it's like, man, I don't want to have to freaking prove myself to another new coach in my final year of eligibility. So I'll go to A&M where they have coaches I know, coaches that know me, and I can go out there and play ball. Now, A&M has a bunch of guys coming in the secondary. I don't agree with some of these moves. Just so you guys know, the A&M secondary, I'm going to talk about it on another transfer because I don't want to go too long here before I go to the chat. But the A&M secondary of transfers, Mike Elko's bringing in everybody. And they're just going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to figure out the pieces because there's so many guys transferring in. And they already had McCall. And they already had a true freshman starting. And it's like, what are we doing? Do these kids not check depth charts? They don't give a shit? I think they just listen. They just hear an offer. They hear a coach talking to them. And they don't know what's going on. It's freaking nuts. So that's how that goes. All right, I'm going to stop at Jaden Hill. We'll come back and pick it up at Powell. Let me see what you guys got to say in the chat. I don't expect much chat. There's not a lot of people in here tonight. But let's go. First off, we got Lewis Henton up in here. He says, just a thumbs up. If you guys didn't know, Lewis Henton is a diehard Alabama fan. Roll Tide rolled. So roll Tide, Lewis. Thank you for being here, bro. I appreciate you. Willie Bobo says, O'Malley, let's go. Sugar Shane O'Malley fighting this weekend. Make sure you guys become an MVP, and you'll know what I think about the fights. I will give you the proper prediction, if you will. And then David in Arizona says, good evening, Rico. Good evening, David. I usually expect a really difficult question from David. He doesn't always give them to me, but he usually gives me a difficult Arizona question. So I appreciate him. I'm sorry for being here. Give me a second. Boom, boom, boom. And then we'll go over to thoughts on Camden Garrett. So, Derek Newcomer, thank you for being here. Thoughts on Camden Garrett. If you guys don't know, Camden Garrett's a transfer from, I believe he's from Weber State, and he's going over to BYU. One thing about him is he's following his coach. And there's a couple of guys doing this. Some really studs, some really good players are going to BYU. They're following their coach. And I think that they're going to make the most of their situation, right? Anytime a coach shows up, he says, I'm bringing my Louis luggage. And Camden Garrett, theoretically, is that Louis luggage. Now, can he play at the caliber of BYU? We're going to find the hell out. So more power to him. I'm just not sure. I'm excited for him, though. What are my thoughts on J.J. Henry from Ole Miss? You know, Juicy, I really don't have any thoughts on J.J. Henry. I thought he was a wide receiver. Did he move to DB? Did he move to defensive back? I thought he was a wide receiver. I don't know. You know, I don't have much thoughts on him. Doesn't really move me. He's not in the too deep. Doesn't pop on tape. New to me. If I'm missing something, I got something wrong, let me know. Miguel says, I've been a basketball player my whole life, ran across your videos. I'm somehow a football and started keeping up with everything fan, a football fan, and then started keeping up. Shout out to Miguel. You know, I get a lot of messages. You guys don't even know this. I probably get half a dozen messages every week of people saying, Rico, you've helped me become a fan of the offseason. You helped me become a fan of more teams than just my team. You make me want to watch football and want to learn and do things. If you guys ever want to learn about football to the max, come watch a live stream on Saturdays. When I do live streams with the MVPs on Saturdays. And when you watch the games with me on the Discord server, the amount of things you'll learn about these players. Like, you used to think the announcers and the commentators, the color commentators on TV, you used to think they got all these inside stories and know all the information about the players. They don't. They got somebody in their ear, like me, feeding them information. They don't know the first thing about these players. And you recognize it in a hurry. When something happens, I'll go, oh, that guy right there? Boom. And I'll just start sounding off with a bunch of shit. Boom, boom, boom. You'll be like, how the hell does Rico know all this? Well, I study all off season. I'm waiting for my big moment, right? No. It's the nature of my brain. It's just how I am. And I'm just glad I get to share some of that knowledge with you guys, and you guys are fans of the channel. I appreciate you, Miguel. Apparently you're a Goomba. That's your, I don't know what that thing's called. I think it's a Goomba. But I appreciate you for being here. That's cool as hell, bro. Jalen Rohn says, this guy went 12-0 on UFC this past weekend with a flex and fire. Yeah, man, it feels good. It feels good to win people money. You know, at one point during the football season, I think I went, and I'm not joking, during weekday games, I was 19-0 at one point. During the weekday games, I gave my prediction against the spread on every single weekday game, and the MAC was playing like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we were just keeping track of stats, and I think I went 19-0 on college football games on the weekends. Now, on the weekday games, what I want to say about that is none of that compares to how I felt Saturday getting 12 in a row or 11 in a row, whatever it was, getting the whole card right for the UFC. Predicting every correct fight on a card is so hard because of the volatility of the sport. It doesn't matter about the odds. The other person has a chance to beat you. There's injuries. You can be winning a fight and get knocked out 2 seconds later. And it's just so difficult to get it right. And some of these things I predicted, like predicting a 19-0 fighter is going to lose, is pretty nuts. That dude's 19-0, undefeated everywhere you look, and he's favored minus 900. And I said, guys, I watched the tape. I don't think he's going to win this one. I don't think it's like that. And when you start making real assessments, you take fandom out of your analysis, you'll be a lot more accurate. You'll be a lot more accurate if you take fandom out of the analysis. And I was able to do that. Now, there are times I'll say, man, this guy's going to struggle initially, but I think he's going to win rounds 3, 4, and 5 and win the fight. Holy shit. When Rosenstrike just started winning the fight in this last main event, and he was losing that first round, it was a little too aggressive. And I said, no, I think Shamil's, I know he's undefeated, but I don't think he's going to win. I picked 2 undefeated fighters to lose, guys. You don't get there. And if you want to get crazy and you want to go back and look at some of my previous cards, the ones where I was going 9-3 and 9-4, bro, I picked Hermanson to win. I picked him to beat Joe Pyfer. And if you guys don't know what this means I'm picking plus 200, 300 guys in the main event. I'm picking dudes when it all matters. And I'm still getting it right. One dude said, that's not that impressive. All right, bro. I bet he hears that a lot in the shower. Nate Williams says, Rico, thoughts on Garnett Hollis and Jaheim Joseph joining the Urs from Northwestern? Should be much improved secondary Morgantown, factoring in Burks' retention, Crandall, and Garnes. So, couple things. Nate Williams is talking about West Virginia. If you didn't know, I don't know what Urs is. I don't know what that is. I'm not familiar with it. But he's talking about West Virginia. And what you guys need to know is West Virginia last year really cleaned up in the transfer portal in the spring cycle. So in the spring, initially in the winter, everybody was like, oh my God, the house is burning down. Neil Brown needs to be fired. West Virginia is losing their leading rusher. They're losing their leading this. They're leading that. They just lost JT Daniels. Oh my God, West Virginia is going to suck. They need to fire their coach. They're getting murdered in the transfer portal. Then the spring comes. And after spring football, some key transfers showed up. Beanie Bishop, Anthony Wilson. And that Anthony Wilson one, you actually left him off your list there. Wilson's the guy. Wilson, for me, is the guy, and he's back. Okay, so Anthony Wilson, I think he has another year of eligibility, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think he's back. And if Anthony Wilson's back, he and Garnes are going to be a problem. Garnes, if you guys didn't know, he's a transfer from Duquesne. I think I already talked about him in the previous episode. Complete stud. Now, Jaheim Joseph and Garnett Hollis, they're nickelbacks. They're not and I don't mean to make a reference to the band, but they're not impact players. They're just quality depth in the secondary. They're going to be in the rotation. I don't think that if they're starting for you, there's a problem because they weren't superstars at Northwestern. I went and watched all their film last week. I made a video about, you don't know this, I made a video about Northwestern last week breaking down how many games I think they're going to win for the season. The MVPs know because I give this information for betting. I'm actually pulling it up on the other screen here and I'll show you guys. So I did a huge breakdown on on West Virginia. When did I do a breakdown on them? It had to be last week. So I've already talked about these two individuals very in depth. And I just want to double check when I posted it. 27 February. So if you didn't know, it's right here. West Virginia, it is how long is this video? It says 4 minutes is left. So that's a pretty long video. I don't even know how long it is. Oh, it's 16 minutes of me breaking down West Virginia and how many games I think they're going to win. This is information I give to gamblers, right? I give all this information to gamblers. I do every single team, a preview on every team for the futures bets. I don't give this out in videos. I don't give this out in podcasts. I don't give this out in casual conversation. So many people stop me and ask me, hey, Rico, how many games is my team going to win? What do you think about it? I do not give that information out to people freely. You have to be an MVP on the Patreon, and I will tell you, and you will then get the right answer, and you can go bet on that and win a ton of money, which is why I don't give it out for free. I give it out to the guy like this one right here. A 2024 futures bet, 10 units. 10 units. Every single bet is 1 unit. This one's 10 because I believe in it that much. I think Vegas got it wrong. Okay, there are times I think Vegas got it wrong. You want to know who's winning the national title? Who's winning the Heisman? Who's winning the CFL Grey Cup? I've given all this information out on the Patreon server. I make a video a day for the futures bets so guys can get their money in now. It's kind of like your tax return. It's kind of like your tax return. Let me just say this. A lot of people will tell you, well, you don't want to make a futures bet right now because you could be using that money on other bets right now. And it's like, well, yeah, you could. You could be using that money to make you money right now. Yeah, that's true. But I want to tell you that Colorado opened up as a futures bet at plus or minus 4.5. And had you jumped on it and put your money on it, you would have been all right. Because now it's 5.5. And some of these lines are going to move. And you might want to get on them early. And it's going to matter. Now, spring transfer portal might hit. We might change our mind. And that's just the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the job. But as of right now, I have provided futures bets on a significant number of teams. I'm starting in the ACC. I went alphabetical in the ACC. And once I'm done with the ACC, I'll move on to whatever conference is next. Everything is on the sports book, but I'm doing this. I went out of turn in a couple of teams that I had insider information on, i.e. West Virginia, Colorado, Alabama, Vanderbilt. I've done some other teams already outside of the ACC. You just have to scroll back far enough to see them, just so you guys know. But that's how I feel about it. I provide information to gamblers. I will not give it away freely. So I apologize if you're asking me questions about certain players. I got you. But how the team's going to do, I can't really say. I hope they do well. I hope they do, as well as you envision as a Mountaineer fan. But I'm not really one to do that kind of thing. I won't talk freely only because I got people paying me every single month for this information. And to give it away for free is disrespectful to them, right? So nonetheless, will USC survive without Caleb Williams? Well, did you watch them in their bowl game get better than when they had Caleb Williams? Let's talk about surviving Caleb Williams. You might as well call Caleb Williams R. Kelly, and you had to survive his tenure. Caleb Williams lost 5 of his last 6 games on the team. 5 of the last 6 games USC lost with Caleb Williams as the starting quarterback. So that right there should tell you everything you need to know. Caleb Williams was sacked 33 times. Well, Rico, that means the offensive line sucks. No, it doesn't. Because he was sacked 30 times last year when he won the Heisman. He's just getting sacked 30 times every season. He doesn't process the game properly. He rolls out and he does things. When you read the Twitters and you read the comments from his teammates, once he departed and they went into that bowl game without Caleb Williams and they dominated Louisville, you know what those wide receivers said? Well, of course we dominated. We now have a real quarterback. We now have a real team player. That locker room does not like Caleb Williams. Whether they want to publicly say it or not, I've read the writings on the wall. And that's what led me to say, oh, this guy's not draftable. I put him number 5 on my top 10 quarterbacks in the in the NFL draft. If you want to see my NFL draft rankings, I posted a video on YouTube. It's under the video tab. I posted that video, a couple days ago? None of you guys are watching it? It's there. I gave you all my top 10 for every position except for offensive line. I'm still working through the film. That's a long process. It's a long process to watch offensive line film. I'm working on it. They're going to survive without Caleb Williams. I thought he was a detriment to that team this year. I don't care how well you think he played. Caleb Williams played bad. Take away his 3 games. Colorado, Nevada, San Jose State. You take away the touchdowns from those 3 games, that's half his production. Caleb Williams threw for 31 touchdowns this year, and 15 of them came in those 3 games. Yep. Sucks. Terrible. Not impressed. Dominating San Jose State, Nevada, and Colorado's defense. Not impressed. Thought he played terrible all year. Went from being the number 1 guy on my board to get him the hell out of here. I do not predetermine my draft prospects. I look at the production. I look at the performance. I assess everything. Not it. Do you think Quincy Riley is a top corner? No, not at all, Jonathan Lovey. Thanks for asking. I've watched the tape as much as I can on Quincy Riley, and I don't see it personally. Now, somebody else can believe in him. You can believe in him. For me, no. When I think top corner, I think of certain people. He's not on my list. Not a top corner, no. There's a kid at Notre Dame right now that when I watch tape, he pops, man. What's his name? McCollum? Something. Go to Notre Dame, look it up. One of their starting corners is amazing. It just looks good on tape. Don't care what anybody says. Do group of 5 wins the most money? Yes, it is, Derek Newcomer. Thank you so much. Colorado line is disrespectful. I'm going to be joining soon. What up, JR? It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Miller Moss. Shout out to Miller Moss and having the intestinal fortitude to just stay there, grind it out, and become a starter, and then to make the most of your moment. I haven't seen something like that manifest itself in a long time. In a long time. Somebody just sitting around waiting for his moment and yes, Benjamin Morrison. There you go, Nick. Why did I forget his name? I watched all his tape yesterday. I was watching as much Notre Dame film as I could. I was looking up Hurd. I was looking at Hurd stuff. And, not Hurd, Audric Estime, running slow. I went back to go watch film on him on whether or not he was running fast. Like, do I have tape of him running fast because of his combine 4.7 140? So I went to go look up all the tape, and I wanted to make sure he was running faster on tape. And while I did it, I started watching the defense, and there was Morrison. And I saw Morrison and said, whoa. And that's how you want to get on my radar, is I'm watching film for somebody else, and then I see you. So shout out to him. All right, guys, if you have any more questions, get it in the chat now while I'm talking about the next group of players, and then I'll get back to your chat. Okay? I'll get back to your chat here shortly, but we're going to get back to the players. I want to finish out all the players, and then we'll do the chat one last time, and then that'll be the show. Thank you guys for being here. Let's go talk about Powell. Let me change my scene here. I apologize. Get your chat in, all that you can. I'll get back to it. So, looking at the players, where did I leave off? I left off on Powell, Michelle Powell, leaving Washington, going to Miami. Congratulations. If you ever wanted to go somewhere where you're wanted and needed, has anybody ever been at a job? Like, I don't know about how you guys do it, but in the Army, I was in the Army over 21 years. When we were in the Army, if you went to a new unit and you didn't know anybody there, it was kind of like scary. It took a while, and then you're like, all right, well, I want to be here now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be somewhere where people want me and know me. So I remember I was at a duty station. I'm in a unit. I've been there a number of years. And I want to be a first sergeant. I'm a master sergeant, but I want to be a first sergeant. I'm brand new. I've been a master sergeant for 2 days. And I say, I want to be a first sergeant. And my sergeant major says to me, Rico, all the first sergeant seats are taken. You can be one, but you got to wait a year. And I looked at him and said, I'm not waiting a year, man. I'm ready. I want to be a sergeant major. I need to be a first sergeant tomorrow. And if you don't know, in the Army, first sergeant runs the whole company. Like, he's in charge of hundreds of people. So I want to be the boss. You're called top. You're the top of the food chain, trainer personnel. You're the guy. And I want to be a first sergeant. So he says, Rico, if you want to be a first sergeant, I need you to leave the unit and go be a first sergeant in another brigade. And I said, I don't care. Send me anywhere, bro. Send me anywhere. I'll be a first sergeant. So he sent me to another brigade. And they didn't even have a sergeant major in that other brigade. It was brand new. And I was the senior enlisted person there, and I'm in charge. And I loved it because I'm in charge. It's my show. It's where I wanted to go. And I'm running it. And I'm doing it. And in about 3 or 4 months go by. And then finally somebody graduates from the Sergeant's Major Academy, and they bring in that sergeant major. And just my luck has it, it's a sergeant major I can't stand. It's a terrible person. I couldn't stand. It's a woman, by the way, and she was the worst. And she didn't like me, and I didn't like her. And we had known each other for a number of years. And the stress I felt going to work every day was unreal. Unreal. I can't even describe it to you guys. I went to work, and I knew this person didn't think highly of me. I didn't think highly of her, but it didn't matter. She outranks me. I have to do what she says. I have to go to meetings and just see the scowl on her face. And this was a hideous looking woman. And you're just sitting there going, why? Why am I here when I could have been in another unit where people loved me? Where I could have been in a unit where I was comfortable. I had been in that unit at that point, I'd probably been in that unit for 5 years. I knew everybody. I knew everything. I grew up in that unit. Like, everybody loved me. And now I'm over here working for this person I can't fucking stand. It is terrible. I'm miserable. I'm depressed. I'm going to counseling. I get therapy. If you guys have ever worked for a boss you can't stand, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you're at the mercy, and I don't know how your jobs work. I'm in the Army. You can't quit. And you definitely can't underperform, and you can't bump heads with somebody. You can't have beef with somebody who outranks you. It just doesn't work that way. It's the Army, bro. It's different. You got to work your ass off, try to get your eval right, get your report card right, and then roll out and look for another opportunity. But here's what happened, dude. Come on, sweetie. Come on. I'm waiting. 9 months go by, and I finally just said, enough's enough. It's okay, sweetie. It's just you and me. I said, enough's enough. I'm going back to my old unit. And I talked to the right people, and I got out of there. And she was not happy about it. Wrote me a scathing report. Wasn't happy to see me leave. She was pissed because she wanted to run my show. Well, I'm saying all this because you see this guy Powell here? Powell went to Washington in 2019. And he's been there the whole time. He's been starting games and everything. But he wants to go somewhere where he's wanted and needed. And not just keep going to the same place because he's been there for so long. Got to go where you're wanted and needed. They have a whole new coaching staff coming into Washington. Doesn't know any of them. Doesn't feel comfortable there anymore. It's time to roll out. Maybe get some play, get some money. And you want to leave Washington because you heard Miami has some of the greatest safeties in America. Shout out to Cameron Kitchens, the best safety in the draft, and James Williams, a 6'5", 210-pound safety. They both ran incredibly slow at the combine. I don't care. I've watched tape. They are amazing. They are great. I would draft Cam Kitchens before any other safety in the draft. I don't care. Yep, he ran slow. So then drop him in the draft all you want. But when it's time to draft a safety, pull up the list of safeties you want, and make sure Cam Kitchens is at the top. Don't be telling me about Javon Bullard. Don't be telling me about anybody else. Make sure it's Cam Kitchens. And when you see that type of productivity and you see that type of development, you want to go work for that. So I don't blame Powell for jumping in the transfer portal. His whole coaching staff just left. I just hope he doesn't regret it. You want a chance to go be great. Go be great. Just don't regret it. And I'm telling you, working at a unit that's toxic, working at a team that's toxic, working for a coaching staff or leadership that's toxic, it can weigh on you heavily. And as far as I know, Mario Cristobal is not the greatest person to go work for. That's all I'm saying. As far as I know. Now, I've never talked to that man, in all fairness. But I have talked to his players. Just saying. All right, next, let's go to Antonio Kite down here. Antonio Kite leaving Alabama, going to Auburn. This is a corner. I want to say right now, no shade, but when I turn on the tape, Antonio Kite looks like a high school football player, like a high school body. Looks like a basketball player almost. 6'1", 182, doesn't look very muscular, doesn't look very strong. His height, his weight, his speed, none of it was verified at camps. They gave him 4 stars. You know why they gave him 4 stars? He was committed to Alabama. I'm just calling it like it is. No verified speed, no verified anything. Got no stats while at Alabama. So you're a 4-star because you signed with Alabama. And then you don't work out there. You don't even play there. And now you're transferring to Auburn. Well, let me tell you something, Antonio Kite. If you couldn't play at Alabama, you can't play at Auburn. The talent gap isn't that big, bro. I promise you. Antonio Kite, when I watch his tape and I watch everything about him, he don't look like an FBS level player to me. I think he should have transferred to UAB, Troy, North Alabama, ULM. I think he should have did something like that. Going from Alabama to Auburn doesn't move me. I don't think it's a good move. I don't think it's a good player. I wasn't excited about the tape after watching it. And you guys know, I keep it real. I watch tape and I'm like, yeah, that's a guy. That's not a guy. At least not in my perspective. And here's what's crazy. Look right here. Antonio Kite, Marcus Ratcliffe, and Donovan Sanders. All 3 of these guys in a row. They're not guys. They're not guys. They're not dudes. You want some dudes on defense. These ain't even dudes. These guys, they flip. They're high school teammates. Ratcliffe and Saunders. High school teammates, and this damn website decided to rank them .90, make them both 4 stars. Yeah, there was a 4-star at Cal Poly last year? No, there was not. A 4-star at San Diego State last year? No, there was not. This guy's flipped, bro. Saunders was supposed to go to TCU. And then he flips. Ratcliffe was supposed to go to UCLA. Guess what they weren't? They weren't 4 stars when they were going to TCU and UCLA. But then they flip. And now they're 4 stars. The tape don't change, bro. The tape don't change. Same shit I've seen everywhere. It's gross. Oh, by the way, there's Jordan Shaw going to Arizona. I just talked about him on the committed side going to Washington. They have him in here twice, guys. These websites are gross. The errors are gross. It's all over the screen. Do something about it, bro. We know he's not going to Arizona. Get this out of your damn database. Who does this job? Who cleans up the website? Who? Sound like a damn owl. Who? It's outrageous. I got to hit load more because their programming is wrong. And when you load up more players, it just repeats the same list you just saw before. That's a real true story. You see it here. I'm skipping Jaden Hill again because I already talked about him. He's up here twice. Yeah, try navigating this website. Oh, Rico, 24/7 Sports says the same thing multiple times. Try navigating this shit. It's gross. The programmers are bad. The QA/QC is terrible. Quality assurance, quality control, terrible. So let's talk about it. Asa Turner leaving Washington, going to Florida. Congratulations. Asa Turner going to play for somebody he knows. That's what this is about. Will Harris is the new secondary coach for Florida, and he used to coach the secondary at Washington from 2018 to 2021. So he was part of recruiting Asa Turner, coaching Asa Turner, and so it's just going back and getting a guy that you feel good about. Turner is totally injury prone. He's in his 7th year or 6th year of college football. He broke both hands. He broke both hands this season. He broke his hands in weeks 3 through 6, and then he broke another hand in weeks 9 through 13. So he only played in however many games this year. I don't even know what it was. But because he played in 7 games, but the 7 games, one of them was the conference championship game, the playoffs, and then the national title game. So he only played in 4 regular season games. So technically, he redshirted this year, medical redshirt. That's why he's got another year of eligibility left. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. Remember I told you Florida signed 2 defensive backs that are 6'3"? Yep, here you go. Congratulations. And then you're getting DJ Douglas, who I don't even want to get started. These ratings are just crazy. This is a former walk-on. I think he was at Alabama, went to Tulane, and finally earned some starting time, and then went back, and now he's going to Florida, whatever. But Turner here, Turner's a good kid. He can play football. As long as he's healthy, he can play some football. He's played 1,789 defensive snaps. It's a lot of football. 1,700 snaps, bro? He's everywhere. Shout out to him. Tamari McDonald's the next guy, leaving Tennessee, going to Louisville. I'd be surprised that McDonald was a starter. He has great size, 6'2", 210. But once again, I just don't know how we're going to get around Louisville's entire secondary. I don't know who's starting. There's just so many people to compete with. He's played in 42 games, 24 starts for Tennessee. Played well. I thought he was going somewhere else. He was supposed to go to Ole Miss, and he flipped, just like Tyler Barron. So he's one of the guys that was going to go to Ole Miss, and then they flipped, and he's going over here. But he's been around for a little bit. Not a bad player. He's originally from Memphis, Whitehaven, Memphis. That's cool. Corey Cooley leaving Maryland, going to NC State. This one, they thought he was going to be the starter. This kid committed to NC State early December. And NC State was concerned about losing certain players that are just complete studs. And that's exactly what – so they're like, okay, Aiden White's going to leave. He's going to the NFL. No, he's not. Aiden White's coming back. So this leaves Corey Cooley being a nickel corner, being a depth piece now. You just left Maryland where you were doing that same thing. Just played 387 snaps this year. Played in 11 games in the last 2 seasons. You're not a bad player. You're just – why are you transferring? This is a lateral transfer. And he thought he was transferring to get starting time, and it's not happening. Just letting you know. It's not happening. Let's go load more players. Crandall going to West Virginia. Crandall's not an impact player, by the way. I talked about him in an earlier episode. If you guys don't know, I'm skipping people because they've already talked about them in earlier episodes. Crandall's not an impact transfer. Shout out to whoever asked me about that in the chat earlier. Jace Oliver, his brother, I want to say his older brother, was Charles Oliver. If you guys don't know Charles, former Texas A&M corner. I think he was an All-American or U.S. Army All-American, maybe high school All-American, if I remember correctly. He was a good player. But this is a young man that's been at Tulsa for a long time, and he finally started this year, did some good things, but he's been at Tulsa for 5 years. Over 100 tackles in his career. I think he's good. This is a backup signing for TCU. They didn't want Oliver. Not initially. They wanted Saunders up here. Remember I told you Saunders flipped? It was because, so once Donovan Saunders flipped to A&M to go with his high school teammate, that left TCU looking for a different safety, and now they went and got Oliver. They didn't want Oliver initially. This is a backup plan, just so you're aware. So I don't know if he's going to start or not. Next guy I want to talk about, Jakeem Harris out of Benedictine. He's right here out of Georgia. Got a lot of respect for this kid. I think he's a tweener. He's played in 48 games, 22 starts. I still think he's too small. He's 5'10 and a half, 195 pounds. I don't know if he's big enough to play safe. Like, I just want a bigger safety, a guy who covers ground. But this guy's played some football. The problem is he got injured in the first game of the season, and he was done for the year. Okay, so I don't know if he's healthy. And his career high for tackles is like 70-something, 76, back in 2020. So as a freshman, he did great. Or, early on in his career, he did great. And he's just been kind of falling out of favor ever since. He was supposed to start this year on a great North Carolina State defense. But once he got injured in the first game, season's over. And that just sucks, right? Next guy I want to talk about, Katon Crawford. I hope he's good, though. Katon Crawford finally leaving Texas, going to Nevada. Shout out to Nevada. They're like last chance you right now. They're getting anybody and anybody they can. Just dudes who are looking for more playing time. Couldn't quite break it in their Power 4, Power 5 team, whatever it is. This man's been at Texas for 4 years. He's a good player. He had an interception in the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State. He used to be a high school All-American, Under Armour All-American, all that stuff. Katon Crawford was the guy coming out of high school. Now, he's been at Texas for a while and never really did anything. But if you want to talk about a guy who's a special teams ace, it's Katon Crawford. That dude's a special teamer all day. In my high school days, I was the special teams player of the year, if I remember correctly. I blocked a kick in every game. I'm not even lying. I don't know where the plaque is. I'm sure my parents have it. Blocked a punt or a field goal or an extra point in every single game, and I made every tackle on the kickoffs, whatever it was. I remember when I won Special Teams Player of the Year, I was proud of it because I was like, yo, I'm giving effort when no one else is. Katon Crawford's giving effort when no one else is. True story. I think he's a stud. Don't be surprised if Nevada starts blocking kicks because of this dude right here. This one dude right here has a knack for blocking kicks. It's pretty cool. Go watch the tape on him. BJ Mays, this is dumb. I don't understand it. Like I said, going from UAB to Texas A&M is loaded in the secondary because of transfers. First, you got Will Lee. Will Lee coming over from Kansas State. He's the blanket. That's what he's called. His PFF score is out of this world. His tape is great. Will Lee will be starting for Texas A&M. So who else is going to start? You got Saunders. You got Hill. Both of them coming in. You got Sam McCall still on the team. You just signed Bussey. What are we doing? Javon Thomas, true freshman, started 3 games this year. Like, they got players. And BJ Mays says, yeah, sign me up, bro. Sign me up. Let me tell you about BJ Mays and how this is working out. Coming out of high school, he played high school ball in Houston. Goes to UIW. Plays a couple years at UIW. And then transfers to UAB. Plays pretty good. UIW, if you don't know, UIW, Incarnate Word, FCS school, playing for G.J. Kinney and them boys. And I thought he was going to transfer to Texas State when he jumped in the portal. I thought it was going to be one of those moves. And he goes over there. He goes all the way to A&M. I just don't think he's an A&M caliber guy. 6'1", 185. We'll see. We'll know after spring football. Doesn't feel like a good transfer to me, personally. Jatarvis Broughton, I want to laugh at all the Utah fans who attacked me. He jumped in the portal. He was crystal balled immediately to TCU. Everybody knew he was leaving. And Utah, I'm like, yo, you guys are going to lose players. And when he jumped in the portal, Utah fans hit me back up. Oh, Broughton's out of the portal. He withdrew from the portal. You know why he withdrew from the portal? Because he needed to change his name. This is not his name. His name is Jatravis McLeod. And when he was coming out of high school, that was his name, Jatravis McLeod, in the recruiting class. So he jumped in the portal under this name. Then he had to withdraw from the portal and go back in. But when he withdrew, all the Utah fans went crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. They're sending me DMs like nuts. I'm like, bro, calm down. Dude's 5'11", 190, not a bad player. Started at corner for Utah, but I'm telling you, he's not a ball hawk. Not a ball hawk. Everything I saw from him leaves a lot to be desired. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. TCU needs to find defensive backs. They run a 3-3-5 defense. They need defensive backs. I think he's a good addition for TCU. This is a kid out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Union, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he's a good stud player. If you start at Utah, you're good, but I don't see it. He doesn't pop on tape for me. Devon Marshall might be a hidden gem. This one you might get excited about. He's coming over from Villanova, going to NC State. His high school tape is in Massachusetts. So you don't get a lot of love in Massachusetts. You can slip through the cracks, right? People aren't going to give you those offers you're looking for. You think you're an FBS level player, probably not going to get the offer. You go to Villanova. Now, he has double-digit pass deflections at Villanova this past year, which I already told you guys. Anytime I see a DB with double-digit pass deflections, it makes me turn on the tape because that means you're finding the ball consistently and you're batting it down. Like I'm with it. Whether you caught it or not doesn't matter to me. I just need to see what you're doing to get that close to the ball every single time. Devon Marshall looks the part. He won a state title in high school. He was an all-state defensive back. They just didn't give it to him coming out of high school. So he goes to the the FCS, and he does 47 tackles, 11 pass breakups. He looks good. I'm excited for him. I hope he makes the most of this. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. So even if he's not starting this year, he's in the rotation, but I know this kid can play football. I'm excited. NC State's one of these teams I'm going to watch extremely extremely close this upcoming season because I believe in them to some extent. Slow down. All right, I only got about 5 guys left, and then I'm going to jump to the chat one last time before we get out of here. If you got questions, comments, anything you want to talk about, jump in the chat. Get it there now. Here we're going to go. Day McCullough. That's you say Day McCullough. That's how it's pronounced, kind of like the day of the month. Day McCullough leaving Oklahoma, going to Louisville. First thing I want to ask the young man is, what did you think was going to happen when you went to Oklahoma? Did you think you were going to start? This is a 4-star kid coming out of high school. They already reduced him down 1 star because he couldn't start. What? You're going to Oklahoma, bro. They ain't scrubs over there. They got a team. Everybody always said Oklahoma's defense sucks. Well, you know what? They don't suck that much. They don't suck so bad a high schooler's going to start over them. So I don't give a shit who your brother is, who your father is, who your mother is. You can't go to Oklahoma and do that. Now, remember, Deshaun is his brother, just transferred in, originally an Ohio State commit, went to Indiana because dad was the running backs coach, and then he just transferred to Oklahoma. Dad's now the running backs coach at Notre Dame. Yes? Wrong? Yes. I think I said that about somebody else earlier. I think I got that wrong. That's this man's father, if I remember correctly. He has another brother that played defensive back at Miami of Ohio. Day McCullough is a good recruit, and he's got 4 years of eligibility left. He only played in the season opener last year. Season opener, got in. It was against Arkansas State. It was a blowout. No big deal. Other than that, this guy, he's not in the too deep. You want me to get excited about Rico? Louisville got themselves one of the top safeties in the transfer portal. Stop it. Stop it right now. Don't be doing that shit. Mekhi Miller, New Mexico State, going to Cincinnati. I don't like the move, but let me show you guys something. This is what's wrong with these websites. They put everybody together on a chart, and they try to tell you these are all the top players in the transfer portal. And then if you take that chart and you break it out by position group, and you look, and you sort it by enrolled instead of just committed. See, remember, I'm getting real specific. You'll see all the Cincinnati DBs are together. There's 3 of them here in a 5-person span. What is that? I'll tell you what that is. That's these websites giving ratings based upon what school you're going to. Look at Louisville. 1, 2, 3. I bet whoever committed to UMass is at the bottom. That's how these websites do it. It all depends on what school you're going to. They'll give you a certain rating. And this is proof. We're looking at Cincinnati players. I'm telling you, this is gross. You got an Ohio State kid leaving Ohio State after 1 year, and what are we doing? After 2 years, 3 years. I don't care. Look what they're doing to these kids. This is where they rank Cincinnati players. So Mekhi Miller, leaving New Mexico State, going over. All I can tell you about Mekhi Miller is, and I'm a New Mexico State guy, I watched all the tape. Mekhi Miller, Derek Canteen, each have 1 year of eligibility left. Key Stokes has 3. Okay, this is a stud down here. I love this kid. I think he has a ton of potential. I don't think he'll be at Cincinnati his whole career. But these guys right here, Mekhi Miller, Derek Canteen, 1 year of eligibility left, and I don't think they're equal. I don't think they're equivalent at all. Mekhi Miller's a good player. He's not bad. But he's not Derek Canteen. I'm telling you, man, I turned on the tape. Mekhi Miller is 6'1", 200 pounds. His PFF scores are so impressive. He even had a 79.3 coverage score. I don't know who the fuck PFF is. I don't know who creates those scores. But I can tell you this. They don't take into consideration the level of competition. When you see a high PFF score from somebody in Conference USA, you better just look at that with a grain of salt. Like you better calm down, bro. You know why Mekhi Miller was so great? He had a good pass rush, and it made his coverage look great. Like, I'm being real. The kid can play, but are you kidding me, bro? His PFF scores are higher than a lot of other people. So we'll see what Cincinnati can do. They are Frankensteining the secondary. They don't have a lot of returning players. They got 5 new transfers, and we'll see what they can do. Derek Canteen's him, bro. I love Derek Canteen. Full disclosure, Derek Canteen played at Evans High School. This is 5 minutes from the house. So I watched him play in high school. I'm aware of who he is. Went to Georgia Southern initially. Freshman year, 6 interceptions. Gets to FBS level football, 6 interceptions. Last 2022, 11 pass breakups. But when he got to Virginia Tech, transferred from Georgia Southern to Virginia Tech, he did not earn a starting position. he had over 40 tackles this year. He played a lot more than some starters. He was in the nickel. He was playing safety, corner. They knew he was good enough to see the field, but he wasn't a bona fide starter anywhere. And that's a little frustrating for players. I can remember my junior year, coaches were moving me from corner to safety over and over and over. And I didn't know. Like one day at practice, I'm doing some reps here, I'm doing some reps here. And then you're at the game, and you're not starting, but you're playing just as much as the starter. You're just frustrated. You're like, when am I in? When am I not in? Why is coach taking me out? Why is he doing this? And you're like, man, it was such a relief my senior year when coach was like, yo, Rico, we're just going to put you at corner. That's what you do, bro. I'm like, all right, what side? He's like, just stay on the left side. Don't worry about anything. I'm like, okay. And I remember going home thinking, man, no, I was on a passing league. We're in San Diego State. And I just remember going to the hotel room, and I was like, yes, I did it. I did it. I don't ever have to worry about this shit no more. That's it. I'm the one. Because I was tired of being moved around. And I think Derek Canteen feels that way. He wants to go be the one somewhere. So go be a bona fide starter at Cincinnati. He's a good player. I'm going to be rooting for Derek Canteen. I want him to make it to the NFL. I'm sorry. He's going to be a deep, long shot to the NFL. I want him to go there. I believe in him. Now, I don't know about Cincinnati's coaching staff. I don't know if I believe in them. Corey Thornton leaving UCF, going to Louisville. This is a starter caliber player. 6'1", 190. Been at UCF a long time, 4 years. Had 3 interceptions last year. Out of Booker T. Washington High School in Florida. I like everything about Corey Thornton. Look how low they rank him. He's going to be starting over a lot of these other Louisville guys. Just remember what I told you. Corey Thornton will be on the field during the year. You don't have to remember. I'm going to remind you. And the last guy I'll talk about before I go to the chat and close out the night, Kai Stokes, leaving Ohio State, going to Cincinnati. This is a safety. Turn on the tape. He's from Armwood, Florida. He's so smooth. 4.4 speed, 4.5 speed, somewhere around there. Just looks very fluid as an athlete. I loved the whole tape. I really did. Kerry Coombs is the former defensive coordinator at Ohio State. He's now the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati. So that's all what this is about. This is a friendship-driven thing. All right, this is a young man who played 83 snaps as a freshman. And I remember 2022, the spring game, he lost the black stripe on his helmet, or he gained it. What is it? You gain it or you lose it? I think he lost it. He lost the black stripe on his helmet. He was the first guy on the whole team to do it. He was impressing all the coaches. But over the last few years, he just hasn't developed himself properly. He only got 10 snaps this last season. It was bad. And Malik Hartford passed him. Malik Hartford, a freshman, passed him on the depth chart, and that was that. That's a wrap. So I actually think he's a good player, though. I do. I think he's an FBS, Power 4 caliber player, and I hope he proves it. So I'm pretty excited for him. Everybody else, I will be talking about in the next episode of the Transfer Portal Defensive Backs episode. So apologize. Those are all the players I wanted to cover tonight. I'll go to chat one last time, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks for being here, guys. Remember, become an MVP, get to the Patreon server, or get to Patreon, become an MVP, get to the Discord server. That's what I'm saying. And if you want to know how to join the Patreon, there's a link in the details of this video when I post it today after the show. All right, Willie Bobo says, Mr. Rico knows. Can you give a shout-out to Helena? Thank you. Shout-out to Helena. It's probably too late now. I don't know if Helena's still standing around. This has been a long time. Helena. Shout-out to you. BMO is a stud. What's Michigan's secondary going to look like? Any thoughts? Mr. 5-footer, I will be able to tell you what Michigan's secondary is going to look like probably after spring football. I can give you a guess now. Obviously, I know who's on the team, who's there, but it's not going to be accurate because we need to see spring football, maybe some spring additions and departures. We got to figure it out from there. There's going to be some movement. There's going to be some development, some tryouts, some things. And so when I give my final rundown of each team, like I do for all the gamblers, for all my MVPs, that's probably where you're going to get the most accurate answer. I probably won't put it in here. I apologize. I like their safeties too. Locked up MHJ 2 years in a row. There we go. Would like your opinion on Louisville safety Devin Neal, last year transfer from Baylor. Yeah, I like him. That's the reality of the situation. I like him. Talked about him at length. If you're an MVP, you can go in here and you can see when I broke down Louisville, I brought up Devin Neal. I think he's a very good player. Okay. I like NC State secondary this year. Bishop Fitzgerald is a guy. So are some of their transfers. Believe in them. I think they're pretty good. Thoughts on Mello Dotson and Kobe Bryant? Mello Dotson is a hell of a lot better than Kobe Bryant. Don't be putting them together. Mello Dotson is good. I love his tape. He looks great. And Kobe Bryant, more power to him. But Mello Dotson, whew. Yeah. And I think I talked about him already in a video, just so we're clear. Correct. Dalen McCullough, running back coach at Notre Dame. You're correct. Nick, it's all up here, bro. It's all up here. Chris Collinsworth owns PFF. All right. Well, that tells me all I need to know. Go find his video saying he likes 16-year-old girls. I'm enjoying your lives. Keep up the hard work. Thank you, Mr. 5-Footer. Please click on the live tab on YouTube. Watch all of them. They're always there. Derek Newcomer says, thanks, Rico, for another great breakdown on the DBs. I love being an MVP. Thank you, Derek. I love every MVP I have. The offseason, it's tough. Some guys depart, but it is what it is. Is Preston Hodge, PFF, grade overhyped? So Preston Hodge transferring from Liberty to Colorado, and everybody wants to talk about, well, his PFF score is this high or anything. Well, when I turned on the tape, I was not impressed with Preston Hodge. I don't know if he's going to start or what it is, but when I turned on the tape, I was not impressed. I think Preston Hodge only started at Liberty because Robert Rahimi hit the transfer portal and left, because Ghost Megason left, Chris Megason. Some of these guys that departed in the transfer portal from Liberty opened up an opportunity for him to start. I don't think he's that type of caliber of player. I don't think he's good. I don't mean to be rude, but I don't think he's up in that upper echelon at all. I'm not excited about him in the slightest. He's not in my top 10 or 20 defensive backs. He's not anywhere in there. Nope. So I see PFF pushing that propaganda. I see it on Twitter. I see all the fans grasping at it and taking it, and it's fine. I mean, once again, you're going to look good when your opposition is FIU. You're going to look good when your opposition is some of these terrible Group of 5 schools. It's not the same. It's just not. It sucks Louisville's DBs aren't playing Sam Hartman this year. Hey, I told you guys Sam Hartman was not going to have a good year, but nobody listened to me. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate everybody for all that you do. You guys make my life possible. But I'll never, ever, ever lose sight of my goals. I'll never lose sight of why I do this. Shout out to my pops. I do this for you. Everybody be safe. Remember, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all because of it, I flipped it quick, went on to write some hits. This a success, off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school. Depends on where your passion lie, just no passion never lie. Life presents distractions, but your actions have to fortify the things that you believe in. Have to scream it like a battle cry and leave the ones who didn't looking stupid while they're asking why. Couldn't lie, I really do this for the ones I love, those who treat the music